Mexico, home to some of Earth's most advanced, mysterious, and violent ancient civilizations. Archaeologists and historians continue to uncover treasures buried for centuries in the jungles and the deserts of Mesoamerica. The Olmecs, one of the earliest to occupy the region, left behind giant stone heads, whose features resemble races from the African continent. The Mayans, whose pyramids and architecture rival the monuments of Egypt, the Middle East, India, and the Orient, developed a form of picture writing and ways of recording dates on stone. And the Aztecs, who, like the pre-Columbian civilizations that preceded them, practiced a religion that relied on natural forces. They too built tremendous temples, carved monumental structures, and complex sculptures, masks and ornaments, as well as creating calendars and timekeeping systems. These are but a few examples of the sculpture, artwork and writings that survived the conquest and pillaging of these great cultures by the Spanish in the 1500s. Historians today agree that humans arrived in the Americas and did not evolve there. What they don't agree on is when and how they arrived. Some believe that the first inhabitants of Mexico were descendants of Siberian immigrants who crossed the Bering Straits land bridge to North America. Others say they might have sailed or canoed across the Pacific, and even might have been one of the lost tribes of Israel. There are even theories that they were the survivors of the lost continents of Atlantis or Lemuria. The noted American psychic Edgar Cayce reported this as a fact in numerous readings given in the early 20th century. Recently, some researchers like Erich von Däniken speculate that ancient astronauts from outer space arrived thousands of years ago to populate the Earth, or to breed and intermingle with the primitive human cultures they found there. They point to a number of mysterious artifacts that they claim supports their theories. Skeptics say that there are more rational explanations for them. But now, strange, controversial artifacts have appeared that paint a different picture of Mexico's ancient past. Controversial because the images on these artifacts suggest something that most historians and archaeologists refuse to believe. In 2012, Victor Camacho, a Mexican radio talk show host and paranormal researcher, was shown some very unusual artifacts by a friend. These stone carvings were allegedly found by farmers and common landowners in a number of remote sites in northern central Mexico, far from the sites of previously known Mesoamerican cultures. Victor and his wife Gladiz began to research these artifacts and soon learned that they had been discovered for at least 50 years, but are generally shunned and ignored by the Mexican government, leading archaeologists and historians. Why, you may ask? One reason is that the landowners have kept their locations secret and have not allowed professional scientists and archaeologists to investigate them on site. Some have been profiting from the sale of these artifacts to private and public buyers. But perhaps the greatest reason why archaeologists, the academic community, and the Mexican government believe them to be fake are the images featured on these artifacts and what they seem to imply. Most people who have seen these images agree that they do not represent human beings, gods, or other things that are native to planet Earth. They seem to represent what UFO researchers recognize as extraterrestrial beings, half human, half alien hybrids, and UFO vehicles. These carvings, most etched into polished, hard rocks, show precise, highly developed techniques that suggest that they were created by a very advanced and technically sophisticated culture. Are these authentic ancient artifacts or very clever hoaxes, as many experts claim? One way to find out is to have them carbon dated, but rocks can't be carbon dated. There are, however, a number of sculptures with other kinds of stones glued onto them. Researchers removed some of these stones and were able to carbon date the organic materials found in the glue. The results of one test performed at a German laboratory date that artifact as 3,800 years old. A second carbon dating of a different sculpture at the University of Arizona AMS laboratory produced a date of 7,521 BC. This is strong evidence that at least some of these artifacts are genuine prehistoric relics. So if we take the position that these are real ancient artifacts, what can we learn by studying the images on them? Let's start with the faces. They depict humanoids with rounded heads, large slanted almond-shaped eyes, small or no noses and small mouths. All of these features are common to what UFO researchers call grey aliens or the Greys. Some are depicted as floating or flying in the air. Another feature common among the beings is that they have 4 fingers. Many people who claim to have had contact with extraterrestrials report that they have 4 fingers also. Other figures appear to be more human, with clothing similar to figures seen in Mayan or Aztec artwork. But their heads are larger than normal humans, and they have those large slanted eyes, even small figures that may represent babies or small children. In many cases, the children are being held up as a possible offering or sacrifice. There are no indications of blood or killing in these renderings, a feature common in other Mesoamerican cultures and artwork. In addition to the offerings of alien children, some of the figures are holding or offering a round orb of some kind. Another interpretation is that the orbs are being given to the kneeling figure. Many figures have what appear to be wings. Was this part of some religious or ritualistic costume, or does it represent the fact that these entities could fly? Some may speculate that these beings are angels or gods, as depicted in other works by advanced cultures worldwide. There are also female figures depicted, with some indications that they are pregnant with extraterrestrial-looking embryos. Researchers in recent years who work with people claiming alien abduction experiences report that they have been impregnated by the ETs and that there is an active program to create human-alien hybrids. These artifacts may indicate that this phenomena has been occurring for many thousands of years. To support the theory that these figures are beings not of this earth, there are many images of flying objects that resemble photos and descriptions of UFOs or extraterrestrial spaceships that have been reported around the world over the past century. Some of these show what appears to be a beam of some kind coming from the bottom of the craft. In cases where they are shown above the figures offering a sacrifice, could this represent the children or hybrids being lifted to the UFOs? Or do they represent the UFOs delivering these alien babies or hybrids to the citizens of Earth? Quite a number of the artifacts show what may be the reason these beings have come to our planet. These round circles may represent the ET's home planet. Some are plain circles, but most are surrounded by dozens of small dots. Does this indicate that their planet was destroyed by asteroids? Another explanation is that these might represent a technically advanced civilization with a planet surrounded by manufactured satellites similar to Earth. In any case, several of these planet icons have several large cracks running through them. It's easy to interpret this as representing earthquakes or other planetary destruction. Some of these images show what appears to be a comet, but instead of hitting the planet, it is aiming away from the planet, which may actually represent their craft leaving their world to escape their catastrophic planetary destruction. Again, we can only speculate as to their meaning. The one aspect of these carvings that matches other Mesoamerican art is the depiction of animals that are common to these regions, wolves or dogs, snakes, panthers and crocodiles. Some even resemble dragon-like reptiles, which can be found on artwork from other ancient cultures around the world. A number of the human figures are seen lying down on top of these creatures. One can only guess at the significance of this. And lastly, many of these stone artifacts contain images that resemble hieroglyphics. They do not compare with any known ancient or modern languages. Some are repeated. Do they represent an ancient language long lost through the ages? They're just another of the many mysteries surrounding these fascinating artifacts. We agree with Victor and Gladiz Camacho that these artifacts need to be studied by professional archaeologists and historians. He has personally seen over 2,000 of these artifacts that are in the hands of the people who claim to have discovered them on or near their properties. He and Gladiz have traveled to some of the sites themselves, usually in very remote places. If not sold or donated to museums or universities, at least make them available for serious study by professionals who are open-minded enough to look past the implications of their controversial images. Victor and Gladiz own more than 30 of these artifacts and are anxious to have experts study them. Scientists and academic professionals are known to have anti-UFO and extraterrestrial biases. They work very hard to protect their libraries of knowledge and resist any evidence that may conflict with their beliefs. Serious research may uncover acts of fraud, but it may also prove that these artifacts are real. And if so, we must all be prepared to open our minds to the incredible stories they have to tell us about our ancient past.